Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the first Q&A of 2020, very good. Haven't done one for quite a bit, so it's finally get back to the swing of things. This is actually replacing the live streams because just recently I attempted to do a live stream, but it actually hasn't done, well, I couldn't get around to doing it because the stuff I've been using to live stream, the first time I did live stream, the only one I did, failed of course, so I can't really do much about it unfortunately. So, and I can't really get anything else to work, just to, do these broadcasts and everything else, that sort of thing. So sadly, live streams are non-existent now on the channel, unfortunately. Only that one sole one that was done maybe about about last year actually. So these are going to be replacing the live streams, of course, the Q&As. I'll be doing these more prominently throughout, of course, on the channel now. So live streams are gone, but I'm still doing a lot of Q&As, so that'd be pretty interesting. Anyway, I've got 5 subscribers, well, 5 people I've encountered, very much, of course, fellow subscribers, some people I've met recently, of course. They submitted some questions, of course, about five users have, so that's pretty good. And the first guy we're going to talk about is, well, who submitted questions for me, is DVD and Film Bloke, one of my longest serving subscribers, of course, top man he is. So he's giving me 5 questions and I will answer them for him. Okay, so first up we've got is there any 2000 shows are worth watching or at least decent? I can't really think of the name, well, I can't pronounce it properly, unfortunately. So something like from 2000 onwards, of course. Is there any decent shows that are sort of ideal? Well, quite a few. I mean, I used to enjoy Skins very much at the time. When I was about 18, of course, that was sort of relevant it was at the time. I saw going to it, I got the whole complete box set of all 7 seasons. So that's always one, because it's also got people like Nicholas Hoult isn't it? Quite a few people as well, like famous people like I forgot his name. He was in the Musketeers actually, playing one of them. There's quite a few famous people, famous stars guest starring as well. So again, it's probably worth a watch for them really, just to see like, oh, they were as teenagers at the time. But it's just maybe for your taste. I mean, some people probably don't like it. Some people might, just give it a watch and think, out of curiosity really. But it's a decent show. There's Skins. I probably recommend. One that I actually watched, I think about 2 years ago actually, when I was on the Fire Stick actually doing a bit of streaming. I'll go into that next question, of course, eventually. I used to watch a show called Frenemy. I only watched the first 9 episodes, but afterwards I sort of stopped watching. It's interesting actually because it's got like Brandon Michael Hall in it. I know Violet Beans, of course, she played the Flash, of course, and what was it? She was in Truth or Dare, Blumhouse film as well. It's also got Joe Morton as well, playing Mars Dyson as well. So it's as a priest, it's quite interesting. It's an interesting thing about using Facebook and stuff and friend requests, like. And this guy who basically sort of he does a whole podcast. He's like an unbeliever very much. It's like that type of stuff really. It's not as preachy as it is. It's quite light-hearted and quite funny in places. It's a comedy drama, very much. But it's ideal. Maybe. They've just announced them doing a second series. There's only 2 series of it, actually. I've only seen like the first 9 episodes of the first series, unfortunately. But maybe give it a watch, maybe not. It just depends really if you're into that source. If you're so familiar with stuff. It's got well-known actors in it, so maybe give it a watch. So Skins, so like Girlfriend to Me. Sex Education is another one. I've only seen the first episode, unfortunately, but it's pretty ideal, really. Again, sort of like raunchy sex comedy drama series, very much. So do high school and stuff. Basically, like style like American High School, but very English, very British at the same time. So maybe give that a watch if you have Netflix or something, or stream it or torrent it or whatever you do these days. Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else I can really. There's TV dramas, of course, all that sort of stuff. I can't really think of anything else, unfortunately, but there probably is. There's one actually. Urban Gothic. That is good. It's an anthology, horror anthology that came from Channel 5 in about 2000, 2001. That did. You can get this. They only did 2 series of it. I would probably say series 1's better because it's 13 episodes and also they're very consistent as well. There's like a loose thread, I think, with the last and the third and the 13th one. The first and 13th are sort of tied together, really much involving same characters, but they're all individually interesting. They are, and a lot of soap actors are in it as well. Just being killed off and stuff like that, being tormented by spirits and stuff. It's completely bonkers in places, but it's interesting. I do the first series on DVD actually, so I'll probably do a video review on that. So that'd be good. Series 2 is a bit it's short. It's 9 episodes, that is, but there are some good individual stories. There's about 3 actually, but the rest of the stuff it's more built about like this story arc involving some testing facility and stuff like that. It's like it sort of dwindles it away really in a way, which I prefer the first. Point is, you know, the series 2 focuses on too much plot and like a very story arc driven type style, whereas this one's just like random mythology. It has like tiny little loose threads to it as well in some places, like some characters return and stuff like that. But it's worth watching actually. First series is definitely worth watching because it's really good episodes on there. There's some fantastic stuff on there. It's bonkers as well. It's low budget, but it's worthwhile watching. So that's one. Okay, so that's your question. That's your first question. Question number 2. What do you prefer for entertainment consumption? Physical media, physical releases, or online streaming or streaming services? Really much. I always prefer physical releases. Usually with some stuff like with Netflix and also again like Amazon Fire Sticks and these bits and these boxes and stuff that you tend to stream along. You know, half the time they don't work very much, and sometimes they don't supply the films you really want to see very much. There are some films I want to see, but they're sort of like from the 80s, but they're never really included on Netflix very much. So it's missing my curiosity. It's my curiosity. Some films I've probably not seen for a while, like I've seen on YouTube or something, or watched on television or something like that. And you think I should really get the DVD. I might just check first it's on streaming. Not really, unfortunately. You know, if you can get a stream on Torrent, no one's bothered doing that, or Netflix haven't got the license to actually distribute it on online streaming. So physical media for me is probably the best idea. I've been buying a lot of physical releases just recently off eBay, of course. If you've seen the one, I'm doing another one eventually, of course, like a second video, a lot of interesting stuff on there. So physical media is probably the one I tend to pick. Your question, then your third question is, hang on. Is there any films that people love but you hate or you dislike very much? Apart from Frozen, which I've grilled on movie reviews already. I would say Alien and Aliens, actually. You know, the problem with them is, I think the problem is the popularity is so there, too much influences, you know. Also, Aliens spawned off a lot of cheap knockoffs, actually. Some of them are pretty good, some of them are a bit half-assed, really. Aliens, it's too culturally heavy, if you know what I mean. Like, it's popular in culture, everyone knows about it, you know. It's actually just like, you know, like people know what Aliens is, people keep referencing and stuff like that, that sort of thing, you know. It's basically constantly, you know, it's embedded in culture, that film. As good as it is, as good of a film it is, as good as a sequel it is now, and production and everything else, you know, it's just not my bag, really. I usually prefer Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection, actually, to be honest. Alien 3 is quite mean-spirited, but also has, like, an interesting production history. Great cast of characters, a lot of British cast as well. Mainly bald dudes, really, to be honest, but a good selection, of course. And, I don't know, the overall vibe of it is very sort of... It's a prison art house film, in a way. You know, with alien elements in it. Pretty good stuff. Alien Resurrection is completely just bonkers and over the top. You know, just mad and, you know, just, I don't know. A Jean Pinay film and a Josh Whedon film, jeez. You can't, if you merge them together, you get something like that. It's like, blimey. You know, it's very ludicrous, very comic book ludicrousness, but it's funny as hell. I'm just trying to think else. What else? Oh, God. Superman, the movie. I'm not really a fan of that, really. The Christopher Reeve films. Not a huge fan of them, unfortunately. There are people who love the Christopher Reeve movies, but I'm not a fan of them. Batman is more my type of thing, really. Even the Byrne films, the Joel Schumacher films, you know, the 1966 movie, Christopher Nolan trilogy. I'm not really a fan. Well, I think that was my peak. I really enjoyed them films, really. I'm not really a fan of Ben Affleck's portrayal very much. It's not really something I look. Well, I've seen the films, but I never connected with them, unfortunately. You know, I'm quite interested to see what Robert Pattinson does with the Batman, of course, with Matt Reeves. You know, so I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with that. You know, but that's one really. So Superman, movies very much. I mean, I did see Superman Returns actually on TV a few years ago, and I just couldn't. Very dull experience it was. Really dull experience for me. It's like, geez, such a downer. So that's some films, of course. You know, Aliens, and the Christopher Reeve, and the Superman movies in general. Really, not a fan of them really, unfortunately. Is there any films that you love but people hate? Is the next one. I'm trying to think actually. What? There are some films I tend to like actually, in terms of like really, in terms of things really. I think I mentioned before Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection. They're probably disliked very much. I mean, Resurrection's is very heavily more disliked really because of what's going on, of course. But I think it's interesting. It's more of a popcorn fluff movie, really, to be honest. You know, full of CGI aliens and of course, and you know, just madness going on. Alien 3 is more. I think people disrespect it because it actually comes after Aliens and he just sort of plows into. Takes a nosedive into, you know, against more very artsy mean-spiritedness in a way. But I do like that actually. I like the music by Elliot Goldenthal, of course. Very out there. I'll probably have to do a review on Alien 3 at some point, you know, but because I might be interested to share some experiences with that, you know. But I do think it's good. I think, you know, this in Resurrection I prefer very much than the first two. Shockingly, people might think you might be right with that actually. I'm trying to think what else. God. What else do I like? I'm trying to think. Maybe some cheap B movies as well actually. Forbidden World, I think people's not really their bag really, but it's a cheap B movie, of course. Rip-off of Alien. That is quite interesting. Very Roger Corman type film. That is quite alright. I like them to sort of films that sort of like, you know, again, sort of, to be honest, it's more like sexual exploitation type films. Not really sexual, and not like prison films and stuff like jailbird type stuff. Oh god, no. No, I feel like sort of like a horror setting, of course, with creatures and killers very much, that sort of thing. You know, especially for Forbidden World, that's very sort of like heavily, you know, sort of like think of Alien. But with lots of gruesome, gory stuff, of course. Make it bonks and gory and put a lot of nudity in it as well. And that's what you get. It's like, you know, they probably think, you know, we should improve that. You know, like, but low budget as well. Funny enough, James Cameron actually worked as a bit of an art director in that film, actually. Strangely. He worked on Roger Corman for quite a few years. Then switched off to his own director, make his own films. So, yeah, pretty good. So, yeah, I'll probably say that as well, actually, included. So your fourth question is... Actually, your fourth question was that really, sorry. I'm just trying to count again. Your last question is British or American comedy? It has to be British comedy. I think British has a bit of a raunchiness to it as well, which is pretty good. I mean, the American stuff, I tend to say, you know, you have like, these days, you have stuff like, what do you call it? Mike and Molly, that's one. Melissa and Joey is another one. Big Bang Theory, that's all finished. You know, that's all like... It's good for its early years, but it's like afterwards it's sort of tailed off really. It's like repeated itself and all that sort of stuff. You know, there's a very samey formula with American comedies very much, and I really just don't find it interesting, especially when people remake British comedies, and that's just goes in the gutter really. It's like, ugh, you know, like they try and replicate it, but they're way watered down and stuff. Whereas the British comedies they sort of don't hold back, especially in the 90s, of course. You know, like if you look back in the 80s and 90s, 70s, you know, 60s, of course. Don't hold back. They do some weird stuff they do, and also just do some stuff that's out there, and you think, my God. And people like Mary Whitehouse would just be shocked and horror and he'd have a fatal heart attack and stuff like that. You know, I like the sort of dangerousness and the type of style they're going for. Really, I do enjoy that very much. Again, it's just a thing, of course. Great writing as well. You know, they make it truly and more human sometimes. Sometimes they make them like complete idiots, but that's the whole point with some of these. But some of them, like people like Roy Clark, John Sullivan, and to be fair, quite a few other ones here and there, they make it true to the heart. They do. You know, they make it's like in a sense, sit very much that sort of thing, and it sort of works. It does. Whereas American comedy, they make them brash and a bit dim-witted and doesn't really do anything like that. It's like they're blinded by stupidity, that sort of thing. And it doesn't really work. sometimes it works well on British, a lot of times it doesn't work on American, because it doesn't go over us really. I think for the over the Atlantic, of course, they think it's all right, and they look at our stuff, they might think the same thing. What we think of their stuff, a bit confusing that is, but you get the gist. So British comedy is better than American comedy, because I grew up with more sitcom stuff from the UK. There's a lot of interesting stuff out there. There's plenty of sitcoms that we haven't seen yet, you know, and stuff like BritBox as well. You know, like there'll be a lot of treasures on there that people probably think, my God, yes, that is what I've been waiting for. That's something I've been looking forward to. I don't know what it is, but I'll be looking forward to that. That sort of thing. So thank you for submitting your questions, Stephen Film Bloke. Thank you very much, and we'll continue with the Q&A. Right, these questions come from Baz Banter93. Fellow subscriber for the channel. Hello again, Baz. Or tell you by real name. I probably won't. I'll keep it secret, actually. I'll keep it a secret, mate. Don't worry. Yeah, you give me 5 questions. Thank you very much, mate. Very much appreciated. So your first question is Marvel or DC? I'll probably say Marvel, actually, to be honest. Largely because if you look at the comics and also their, what do you call it? Their cavalcade of heroes. You know, there's many different shapes and sizes, different types of, some interesting bizarre heroes as well, actually. So, and the variety itself, because you have like, you know, teenage superheroes like Spider-Man, you have ruthless mercenary type characters like the Punisher, you have like supernatural type characters, you know, like sort of spiritful type ones like Ghost Rider, and, you know, vampire hunters like Blade. You know, it's endless. You know, there could be different shape sizes and Marvel just people under the banner. That sort of thing. So the variety is actually interesting, you know. So I'll say Marvel. DC, I don't know. I mean, some superheroes I like very much, but some of them aren't up to scratch really. I mean, people think of Superman. Yeah, Superman's good, but he's not really my go-to superhero really. I never really watched Superman movies anyway, so never been that type of fan really. Batman I enjoyed very much, but I think with Marvel, it's more colourful, and, you know, the cavalcade is just endless of bizarreness, really, in places, you know, and it's just like very switches tones, like different genres and everything else, so it fits nicely, it does. So have a stick with Marvel on that one. Your second question is, if your friends were an anthropomorphic animal, what would it be? I guess say I'm thinking of a rabbit for some strange reason, just like a white rabbit, you know, who, I don't know, I'm thinking of like Alice in Wonderland type stuff, really, or what else, you know. One occurs to mind, like, that was a penguin, really, but I can't really do. I mean, a penguin's funny and interesting. I mean, hell, there was even a Doctor Who companion called Frobisher, who was actually became a penguin, of course, anthropomorphic penguin, with an American accent, like a New York, Brooklyn accent. Yeah, interesting. So, but I think I'll go with rabbit, actually, because it's quite just interesting, really, just bizarreness, really, to be honest. Have no clue. It's for just a standard rabbit, white rabbit or something like that. Oh, colour rabbit, I don't know really, but I found them quite interesting, really. You know, like in terms of stature and everything else, you know. But there you go, that'll be interesting. So, rabbit for me. Your first question is whippy or soft scoop. Soft scoop for me. I haven't had whippy ice cream for years, probably since I was young. You know, go to car boot sales, go to Seaside, you always have a 99 with flake inside, but I haven't had that for years, a long time. You know, I always go for soft scoop out of the tub, really. So that's my thing, really. That's how I've been eating ice cream for many years. So yeah, soft scoop for me. That's my preferred ice cream. And the fourth question is, do you own any Winnie the Pooh DVDs? I do, actually, because I put on the Facebook page for the Gothic Winnie the Pooh, which you should join. Try and type it on Facebook. You know, it's a private account. It's a private group, but we'll let you in. Well, Baz Banter93 will let you in, of course. He's one of the admins, of course. I showcased 3, and I've got a 4th as well, actually. So I've got about 4 DVDs of Winnie the Pooh now, actually. I think largely because, you know, because the question popped up, I thought I don't really own any, actually, and I don't sound too harsh very much. Like I've actually, you know, just like say I don't have any, unfortunately. You know, I only stood to the VHSs, you know, like being old-fashioned bugger like me, very much. But I had to give in, of course, and just, you know, I mean, one of them actually, of course, comes with 2 other films, really. So, you know, that's one of the main reasons why I got it, actually, and the other one was just out of curiosity, really, you know. So yeah, that's really good. And and your fifth and final question was your favourite and your least favourite Disney shows and movies. Least favourite in terms of shows has to go to Frozen. Hate that movie. With a vengeance, of course. I've talked about it beforehand on movie reviews, so that's my least favourite Disney film. For a least favourite show, oh god, in terms of a Disney show, my goodness, I'll probably say Hannah Montana, actually, to be honest. I mean, my sister used to watch that, but I mean, you know, back in those days, and it's like, you know, I think looking back in now, it's cheesy and this bit, you know, it's like, ugh, it can be quite cringe-worthy, of course, you know. It seemed like it was a stepping stone for Miley Cyrus, very much, even though she's been going through, you know, for the past couple of years, of course, changing her image and style and how she acts and stuff. It's like, yeah, considering to that, you know, that sort of thing. It's very Disney Channel trope type style, if you know what I mean. And obviously, there's that thing with people who worked on like Disney, like Disney shows and stuff, and you see them in like other things and see them in person. They're quite totally different and more wild. It's like the caged animals and just escape from the cages do like, you know, it's like that sort of stuff really. You know, it's like a curse in a way, you know, and it's all fallen down to drug abuse and stuff like that, and you know, less fame and fortune, just stuff, you know, heavy dark times with them really sometimes, you know. So yeah, probably go for that one really. In terms of a favourite one, because it's a tough one actually, because I've got quite a few good ones. It varies, it does. For a favourite Disney film, I would have to say, at the moment, I could probably say the Adventures of Winnie the Pooh from 1977. That's probably one that's quite a famous one. I remember fondly, of course. So that probably it varies. It fluctuates between quite a few films, really. But I have to say, I'll probably say that one, The Further Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, 1977, that anthology, of course. That's good. And for a favourite TV show, I'd probably say Recess, actually, because Recess is actually pretty interesting style. If you know, again, a group of kids, of course, who are a gang, different type of styles, different type of backgrounds, very much. Of course, you have one smarter, one tougher. You have a rebellious leader. You have the jock. You have the poet. You have the scaredy cat. You know, the nervous wreck, really. And it just works nicely. And it's like, I like how it's interesting. Like it's, you know, instead of doing like playtime, like doing again like a break, doing elementary school or junior school or something. Where I don't know, the things about with American schools really, schooling really. But it's interesting that they always, you know, because there's love defining characters in that one, memorable characters, interesting stories as well, and how they characterize them as well. Because you have like girly girls, you have a royal King Bob, which is pretty interesting. You have tunnelers, the diggers, the twins, the snitch, of course, Randall. You know, there's loads. The kindergarten is like a savage Aztec tribe. That's really funny. So yeah, I'll probably go for Recess because that's, you know, that's still very memorable. It is, you know, pretty good stuff. So for favourites, Further Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, 1977. Favourite TV show is Recess. For least favourite, it has to be Frozen, the movie. Hate that film. And Hannah Montana for the show, because I know what else follows. You know, it's sort of like, it follows a trend, it does. You know, what I've mentioned beforehand. And that's it really. So, thank you for the questions, Baz. Cheers, mate. Okay, these next questions come from NostalgiaFan93, who I've sort of recently got acquainted when he did a Ugly Dog compilation, of course. Therefore, I might submit an episode sort of for him, you know, because Oscar Barnett sort of promoted, you know, this guy, NostalgiaFan2000, doing an Ugly Dog compilation. Therefore, might be a good idea. So, I end up buying an Ugly Dog and Lonely Mouse. Fair enough. So, at least that keeps him happy and get some people to bring on board, you know, sort of unity and community type thing. So yeah, it'd be alright. It sounds alright. And he submitted 3 questions for me, which is very kind of you. Thank you very much. NostalgiaFan2000, and I will answer them for you. So the question is, what's your favourite Ugly Dog character? Apart from the Tower character, all around a very good character, it has to be Granny Annie. I like she's very matriarch, what do you call it, matriarch type character, that sort of thing. I really like Kate Harbour's voice work on that as well. Really grounded, very sort of sharp as well. Really good stuff. Indeed. Costume-wise is quite interesting because she wears like netted hats and stuff. Very sort of like wedding, funeral type wear, really. But overall, she's a really good character. I just really can't fault anything really. Just like Oki was it Oki Hollis's grand matriarch, I would say, in places. I thought about Root at one point, as a potential character, but he's quite annoying sometimes, in terms of the voice which David Holt tends to do. But also, he uses the same voice in Lavender Castle. I think it's the Navigator, and it's like, I can somehow picture Root growing up to a Navigator, but not a good one. Funny enough. So yeah, I'll have to say Granny Annie for the best one for Okie Doke. Question number 2, do you remember Toy Box? I do remember Toy Box, because I got 3 VHSs I covered on Cassette Confessions, really good ones, Toy Box 4, Bumper Video, and the one that was released with the magazine as well, that freebie. Really good stuff, very good marketing as well, there is, for a good number of years since the late 90s, they actually did pretty well. Pretty good stuff. Yes, in terms of annuals, magazines, of course, VHS releases storybooks as well. It's a really good brand, that is. So I definitely remember it. I only remember it from magazines and probably the VHS, and that's about it, unfortunately. But it's a really good branded. Shame they didn't carry on, but times change, I think, really. But very good, I have to admit. And your last question is favourite episode from Noddy's Twilight Adventures. That has to be Noddy and the Special Key, excuse me. Really good episode, because I've seen it many times on VHSs for countless times, and it's just a really good one, actually. It's a favourite of mine, because if you see an episode more than once, or maybe 3 or 4 times on a VHS, it's all ground you as your favourite, really. So it's the one you remember fondly of. That's how it sort of goes, really. So we're not in the Special Key. That's its really thing, really. I sort of considered Not in the Milkman, but Not in the Special Key sort of takes a cake, really, on that one from there. But it's good. I enjoy it, and that's from very early season 1 there. So it's a very good one, that is, for me, especially for me. Absolutely good one. Thanks for your questions, mate. Thank you very much. Next we've got is the nostalgia hallway. He sent me 4 questions, which is pretty interesting. Interesting bag, so we'll probably go through them now. So 4 questions to go through from him. Thank you for the many questions made. Thank you very much. First we've got his favourite DreamWorks animated film. It's a toss-up between Chicken Run and Shrek, the original Shrek from 2001. Both of them are really good. I remember them fondly from many years ago. They're really good. I can't really pick one. It's like a tie between them two, but they're both fantastic. Part of me leans to Chicken Run, really, even because it's DreamWorks, but it's also Artman as well. On one half, because that's stop motion, really good stuff, very British and everything else. But on the other hand, you have an early, computer animated film like Shrek with Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, Cameron Diaz, that like great voice cast as well. Got use of Myers' voice on Fat Bastard from the Austin Powers, series. So it's found another way into the children's hearts. And when they're older, they watch Austin Powers, they think, oh God. So he's basically repeating the voice again over again in certain places, really. But just them two, really. Chicken Run or Shrek. Can't decide which one. They're sort of top tier. They are, definitely. Your second question is, what is your least favourite least favourite DreamWorks animated film? That has to go for Spirit, Stallion of the Crimea, or what do you call it? That animated film that has like Bryan Adams soundtrack to it. Never liked it, really. 2D animation. It's one of my sister's films actually used to watch growing up for many years, and it's like, and the soundtrack just really, even though it's got Bryan Adams on it, it doesn't really do it justice, really. So it's one of my least favorite films. It's not terrible. I never included it on Movie Reviews Series 10, so it's just it's just not one of my things, really, because maybe because it's got more. It does have actually cues. I think as Hans Zimmer is on this as well, doing the score, but I think too much of core involves animals and stuff, really. It's just not my thing, really. So out of all these ones, this is probably the weakest one, or the least favourite. I have to sit for it. A couple of times. It's just like, kill me now, really. That sort of thing. That sort of moment. But there you go. So that's my least favourite DreamWorks film of all time, really, for that one. Your third question is, do you have any VHS tapes that are out of stock? In terms of like, you can't really get anymore. Quite a few, actually. Classic Collection Volume 1, Mercy and Jim double box set from 2001. That is completely rare to hard find. You can't find it on Amazon. You can find it on eBay now and again, really, but that's sort of like a hard thing to find. The Wind of the Willows, my bumper fun and games, that is extremely hard to find. That's from 997. I had that for years, probably since I was young, actually. Since I think when it came out, actually, I had that for years. You know, that is hard to find. That is. I mean, you know, in terms of like, you know, with the Thames VCI releases of Wind of the Willows, most of them I definitely had to find. You know, hard to find on eBay, Amazon as well, bits and pieces, of course. You know, other sites, you know, just extremely hard to find made. You know, that one is a real true gem. What else? I think that's really about it, really. I think them two just spring up to mind because they're really quite hard to find, they are. You know, Wind of the Willows especially, that is really hard to find, you know. But that's out of stock, can't get anywhere, so that's my sort of answer for that one. And the final one is, what's your favourite Wallace and Gromit film? I have to say, A Grand Day Out, actually, the very first one. People will probably jump onto the wrong trousers, or A Close Shave, or A Matter of Love and Death, or Curse the Were-Rabbit, but I have to go with A Grand Day Out, largely because it's simple. It's like how Wallace and Gromit originally came out. It's like, you know, it's just like a man and his dog just going to moon to get some cheese. That's a very simple premise, but the sort of style of it is very funny. You know, very cartoony type style with the mice as well. Like once they lift off, they put sunglasses on. That is a really nice little joke. That is. The music by Julian Knott, really good stuff. Very 80s and very sort of, I was like compressed but tinny, but it's really good. It's a very 80s soundtrack to it, which I actually do like very much. You know, especially when the unveiling of the rocket. You know, very synth heavy, very good stuff. I really enjoy that one. But it's really just something else. You know, I did like it. I mean, I like all the other ones, but you know, this one sort of. It gets it's underrated, A Grand Day Out, you know, because the other ones, you know, in terms of like script-wise, story-wise, and everything else, because they get more complex stories and, you know, like add murder, mystery, and crime and stuff into it, you know, and just bonkers adventures, you know. But I think Grand Day Out is sort of the more simpler adventure in a way, very much, just like an average adventure. I mean, because it's like a pilot very much, but it works nicely. It does, you know, for me. I get something interesting about it really. So that's my answer. Thank you very much for submitting your questions, Nostalgia Hallway. Thank you for the questions. And these are the last final questions given to me by the wonderful Jack Williams. Hello again, Jack. Thank you for submitting some more questions, mate. Thank you very much indeed. And time for the question off. You know, for the last few questions sent by you, mate. Thank you very much. All right, so you sent me a decent amount, actually. Some very interesting ones. Thank you very much. So the first question is, what do you prefer, the 1991 animated film of Beauty and the Beast or the 2017 remake, live-action remake? The 1991 animated version, because I can't stand live-action Disney remakes because I don't see the point in them. They're cash grabs, you know, and they're not very interesting, really. People look at them and they think, that'll be interesting. But you watch them, you sort of finally watch them and you think, that's bland as hell. You know, it's like, it's not up to what I'm familiar with, really. That's something. Beauty and the Beast is not really a film I tend to look back on, actually. It's not it's not a favourite film of mine because it's not very, you know, I do remember, of course, in terms of advertisement, of course, you know, and this whole promotion, of course, with Belle as a Disney princess and everything else, of course, but it's never really a favourite film of mine. Snow White and Seven Dwarfs is my favourite. In terms of Disney princesses, that's my favourite one, actually, Snow White. You know, I grew up with a film, of course, so it's indeed, so that's probably my one I tend to go for, really. Beauty and the Beast, not really much. I mean, it's a good love classic, of course, but it's not something I tend to look back on, unfortunately. But the 1991 animated film is better than the live-action one. End of story. Question number 2. Do you remember Captain Scarlet and the... I can't forget the name, but it's Captain Scarlet, of course, and I probably know what it is. I've never seen it, actually. I knew about Captain Scarlet, but I've never watched the show, unfortunately. I know it's done by Jerry Anderson, of course. I knew there's a CGI series, and there's a live-action movie, of course, which I've seen advertised on shops and DVDs and buying bins and stuff. But I never really saw it. I mean, I remember watching Thunderbirds as a kid. Yes, the original Thunderbirds. But I've never seen Captain Scarlet. It never came across. It had never been promoted or seen very much around my type of area, really. You know, around where I live, it's never been mentioned. Maybe on a few VHSs on a car boot sale or a DVD somewhere, but in a shop somewhere. But it's never been promoted. It's never got me interested with the show, unfortunately. You know, although Captain Sky has a memorable look, he does. You know, very sort of authentic, sort of space age type stuff. Really, to be honest, like it's very in the vein of Thunderbirds, really. But I've never seen, unfortunately, mate. So sorry about that. Your third question is, what is your favourite programme by, or favourite show done by Cosgrove Hall Films? I had a long debate, I did, but I have to say The Wind in the Willows, really, because that captures a lot of interesting things, because it's stop motion animation done with latex foam skins, actually, which is pretty interesting on exoskeletons, which is pretty interesting for a time. I mean, back then it was pretty interesting stuff in the 80s. Good writing by Rosemary Sisson and Brian Truman. Really good stuff, you know, in terms of the good humour. There are some weaker episodes, but there are some good, brilliant stories that they really do. And they do capture the mind, of course, in that sort of time, in that Edwardian period, which is fantastic. Brilliant music by Keith Hopwood and Malcolm Rowe. Keith Hopwood, courtesy of Herman's Hermits, of course. And, you know, the voice cast, you know, Sir Michael Hordern, Sir David Jason, Pierce Ellis, Richard Pearson, Ian Carmichael, of course, you know, the likes of Brian Truman, Jimmy Hibbert, you know, Brian Southend, Daphne Oxford, all them brilliant voice actors, you know, just doing it all. Brilliant stuff, really. And the directors as well, of course, you know, the likes of Jackie Cockle, Chris Taylor, Francis Foes, Barry, Jonathan Krabappel Purvis, or J.C. Purvis, you know, Brian Little as well. Again, brilliant talent behind it, of course, you know, animators as well. The like great Paul Berry, you know, Stuart Sutcliffe, you know, Sue Pugh, again, Barry Purvis as well, you know, Andrea Lord, Monica McCartney, Lloyd Price. Brilliant, you know, just selection of animators as well. It's just perfect, you know. I think for a second place, I'd pick Noddy's Twilight Adventures, you know, because it's, you know, again, light-hearted stories, but when Winnie captures something, it captures the innocence, of course. It is technically a family show, in a way, because it's got darker moments as well, and that sort of thing, but it's really, it captures something, it does. I mean, it captures, like, what Cosgrove Hall was doing in the 80s, and it captures it perfectly, it does, you know, with the likes of Danger Mouse and Count Duckler as well. You know, those are the three main shows that Cosgrove Hall have done very well, and that sort of sits perfectly, it does, you know. It's very timeless, and people like my age tend to go back and look at it, you know, as a show, as a sort of comedy drama, sitcom-esque type show, misadventures of stuff, you know. It's like an anthology type way. It's all, you know, like throughout a year or something, very much, but it's very perfect. It's one I grew up with for many years. It's absolutely fantastic. So that's my question for your favourite, you know, for the best Cosgrove Hall Films programme. Question 4, do you remember the Riddlers? I don't remember the Riddlers, of course. I covered them Path of Nostalgia, but I honestly know, I've sort of came into this sort of like orbit a few years ago where I was doing that show, really. It's a decent puppet show, really, but he never captured me. I never seen it advertised on TV, on VHS promos, like on my full versions. I never seen it on CITV, which was, you know, never repeating, of course. I never seen any VHSs or DVDs or anything, unfortunately. So I can't really mention of it. It looks decent, of course, but it's not really something, you know, it's not really something I tend to look at. It's like Captain Scarlet in a way. And it's like, you know, I just don't remember watching it. I don't remember growing up with it, really. So I can't have much to say about it, unfortunately. So slightly do remember the Riddlers, but not much, really, unfortunately, mate. And your last question is, what do you think about the Build It Project Build It? I've never seen Project Build It, mate. Unfortunately, Jack. Maybe because I grew up with the original series. The original series is brilliant, of course. With back in the late 90s, I remember that fondly. I don't remember that sort of show, that spin-off show, largely because I sort of grew out of it. I was on different things, of course, but if you like it, fair enough. I just can't remember. I just not very sort of familiar with it, unfortunately, mate. But you know, by then I sort of grew up with Bob the Builder, unfortunately, by that time. You know, it's like, you know, I don't remember. I'm more fond with the original series, unfortunately, mate. But that's, if you like that spin-off show, good for you, mate. If everyone else does, good for them as well. But for me, it's not my wheelhouse, unfortunately, mate. But thank you for submitting your questions, Jack Williams. Thank you very much, and thank you all guys for submitting questions. It's been fantastic. As all guys, Q&As will become a prominent thing on the channel, and of course, as always, definitely always, see you for the next video.